Godox recently reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to review one of their lights, and after visiting their website and scrolling through different LED lights, I chose this one, the S60. It's a focusing LED lamp with great controllability, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this video. Now, my first impressions of these lights when I unboxed them was the impressive build quality. The first thing I noticed was that the actual controller housed the transformer as well. So that means that you don't have a separate brick hanging off the actual light stand or wherever you put it. It's inside here. So you have one power cable going in here, and then you have one cable going from here to the light. Now, speaking of cables, they have lovely locking cables, so it's a big plus from me. Now, the light comes on this kind of swivel arm, which you'll see here, and it'll let you just actually rotate the angle of the light very, very simply here. It doesn't have a knob on the side to adjust the actual tension on that. Instead, they give you a spanner. One thing I'd like to see would be maybe if Godox put some sort of bracket on this to mount it onto this side arm here, because you have a lot of real estate there, and sometimes when you hang it on the actual stand here, it starts to kind of swing around a bit, and sometimes it gets caught when you're trying to raise the light. And it's even worse with my other Godox lights because they have the transformer there as well, which I actually hang off the stand too sometimes. Plus, another thing about these controllers is the buttons are very, very small here, as is the dial. There's a lot of surface area here, but very, very little controls. And I think that they could actually probably make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more rugged and industrial, able to take the knocks. But having said that, the quality is still fairly good. And this is an incredibly affordable light. So the light has a kind of lens of somewhat built into the front in a similar way to what a Fresnel light would do. So we're about 12 feet from the wall there, and the beam is at its smallest at about 6 degrees. And if I open it up again, then it takes a little while. It'll go to the 55 degree angle, which is its widest it can go. So it's probably going to fill up the whole area there, and it's continuing on. So now I have a nice even backlight. So the barn doors are very, very cool. I find the controllability of them nice and easy, and they spin around very, very easily. It's all very simple stuff, really, to be honest. And I just think that overall, straight out of the box, a great little unit. So the dial on the light is sort of speed sensitive. When you rotate it slowly, it's very easy to go through individual percentages. I'm at 9, 10, 11, 12. But if I go fast and just give it a quick spin, it jumps to increments of 10. So I can go from 100 to 1 in a second or two, which is great. Now, speaking of 0%, the first little percent, the first 1% is that. So I've seen other YouTubers say how, wow, look how bright it is at 1%, and say these lights are really bright, because if it's that bright at 1%, they must be really bright. But the truth is they're not really bright, nor should they be. And that 1% is realistically about 10% of the output. So the 100% is sort of divided into 90%, if you get what I'm saying. So from 1%, if you rotate it right up to 100%, there's a nice even linear increase in light. When it comes to LED lights, they usually have a fan to keep them cool because they get hot like other lights. And previous versions of these Godox lights had a fan that was a little bit louder than what some people liked. Now, I didn't have those lights, so I can't tell you. But I have these lights, and I can honestly tell you that the fan is really quiet. And not only is it quiet, but the actual sound it makes is very, very subtle. It's like a... Now, in general, when you ramp up the power towards the higher numbers, towards 100%, the fan is going to come on. But if you wanted to switch the fan off, if you wanted a super quiet environment, you can just click the fan button, and what it's going to do is it's going to reduce the light to 50%, and that way it can operate without the fan. Now, as I said, the fan is so quiet that it won't bother me, and I would be very happy to have this light quite close, even 2 or 3 of them close to the cameras, without it being a problem. Another small thing I quite like is the power button. Just a simple tap and it's on like that. There's no holding it down and waiting for 3 seconds as there is with other lights, and it's very, very quick to fire up. So the S60s have great controllability in terms of output voltage, and the barn doors will give you controllability, as will the actual knob at the back in adjusting the beam. But you cannot adjust the temperature, plus there's extra changes, extra modification you might want to do as well. So they have an accessory kit that you can get for the S60, and it contains several parts which I've listed here. This is called the SAP. Now Godox have coded a lot of their parts, meaning that if you want to order an individual accessory, you'll have a code name for it, which is very, very handy. Now, when it comes to the projection attachment, I really liked the look of this, and boy, I wanted it to be so good, but there's a few things I have issues with when it comes to this. Firstly, the way you actually focus the light itself is kind of finicky. It takes a little bit of tightening and untightening to get the verified effect. So you know what, I'm going to actually show you. I'm going to just slip out the barn doors here. I'm going to show you what happens when you put this in to the light. Very, very simple, and there's a little locking latch up here. Now you'll see there what's going on. I actually have two what you call flags already inserted in it. That are these guys here. They've given me 4 in total for great control, and these are little sort of black tabs with a half circle at the end and little rubber handles to stop your fingers getting burned if they get hot. And that's another thing, this light does not get hot. It's very, very cool. Even there, my finger is right beside the lens, and honestly you wouldn't even know it was turned on. So there you can go. I've created a little narrow slit. Now if I want to just rotate that, all I have to do is that, and you can see we've a little bit of bleed there coming through, but that's because I need to push that over that way. And everything is in reverse as well. If you're pushing it this way, it's going to go the other way. Just drop in a gel in there, and that is your lighting. There's a spring-led mechanism in here that lets you squeeze different things in and out of it, and it takes a bit of pressure. So I've got this thing in here now. Oh boy, are we in? So that's an aperture diaphragm, okay? Now, if you wanted to do a sort of a moon effect, obviously you have that there, and if you turn that, it'll let you go right down. Now, I wonder, can I focus that a bit more? Yeah, you see, it's hard for me to see. What if I look this way? Now, I focus that into a little point there. Now, if you wanted to use this one, this is the Gobo one, and this is probably going to be more useful than the last one I showed you. So again, we're just going to slide this guy in, and we're going to see what sort of effects that can give us there. And obviously you've got your blinds there. Now, the intensity there is at 100. So it's getting dimmer and dimmer the more stuff you add. Therefore, you kind of need these lights to be as bright as they are. But with something like blinds and these effects, you're not going to be, doing crazy bright stuff. Now, they sent me 2 gel packs as well. This one is called the SA11T, and it's a color temperature adjustment set. And there's 16 gels in that have the sort of 4 different families of colors that you might want to use: oranges, blues, greens, and magentas. And there's 4 different gradients of each one in there. And then you have the color effects set, which has a load of different just solid colors that you can use. It's a single LED lamp, so it's 5200 Kelvin there, and you're not going to be adjusting the color with the light itself, so the gels come in handy for that. So with the projection attachment, not to forget, it comes with this lovely little bag here, a neoprene bag, and that's nice. I like that. Plus, there's different lenses you can get. It comes with an 85mm lens, and you can get a wider angle lens. At the moment now, we've got a fairly narrow focused light, so that's about as wide as you'll get it there. But if you wanted that to be a wider sort of a light effect, you could get a wider angle attachment for that, and it's not going to break the bank either. There's about 6 different gobos in there, which mostly emulate sort of window effects, but you can get different gobos from Godox. The gobo holder, the way you screw in and out the gobos is a little bit labor intensive, and sometimes it can be tricky to get on and off, and it might take you a minute or two. They should have just made it magnetic and literally let you just plonk that in with the magnet, as opposed to trying to align the threads, because it's a wide thread, and you know, honestly, it takes me a minute or two to get this right each time. So I'm not going to be changing gobos for every shot I do. I'm just going to pick one that I like and get it to screw in. So if there isn't enough accessories already, they give you this nice little pouch in the pack, which has a scrim set in there as well. Now, if you don't know what scrims are a sort of traditional method of reducing the light that comes out of a movie light, like those ARRI tungsten lights that are famous for filmmaking and the likes, okay? So with those lights, you would have no sort of control over the output like you do with these more modern LED lights. So how you would drop the strength of the light would be by adding a disc with a layer of reduction going through that in the form of a mesh. Now, they've added quite a few scrims here. I think there's 6 in total in the pack, and there's different gradients of this mesh. It's a little bit like your sieve, which you would use in your kitchen. And there's ones here that have split levels. They're half and half. One half of the scrim has nothing on it. The other half has a bit of the mesh. And this one here, in fact, is divided into thirds. It has 1/3 nothing, 1/3 is one layer of scrim, and then the last third here is 2 layers of scrim. So if I drop that in, it's going to give, believe it or not, a sort of a gradient. If you wanted, you could put a few in together like that. I've actually got 3 in there. Now, because there's such controllability on the light itself here, there's not that much use for these, so they're a little bit of a gimmick when it comes to this light, and you might find yourself not using them. But having said that, it is nice to have that option. The S60 doesn't come with a remote control, but if you were to part with $20 or about €20, you can get the RC A6 remote control. It's very small, it takes AAA batteries, and it's quite convenient when the lights are in an awkward location and you want to make adjustments. Now, it's fine for using one light at a time, but when it comes to adjusting 2 lights, then it gets a bit messy, because you need to do a little bit of button pushing to go between lights, and it takes a while. Also, when you switch between lights, what it does is it actually changes the light you've just switched to the brightness of the light you've just switched from. I don't know if that's making sense. I really think Godox should make a sort of universal controller, put a bit more work into it, even if it cost more. Perhaps have a dial on there as well, and just convenient buttons 1, 2, 3 and 4 to let you toggle between lights on the go. Because this controller, though it's great for one light at a time, it's not ideal for toggling between many lights, and that would be a nice thing to have. So would I recommend the S60s from Godox, and who are they suited to? Well, firstly, let me tell you that I would highly recommend these. I don't really like reviewing products on this YouTube channel that I wouldn't use for myself, and I think my enthusiasm comes through in the videos in general, and I really like these lights, and I just can't wait to use these in more work scenarios, because they're going to give me a lot more control than other methods that I've been using. And I think that they're equally suited to filmmakers as they are corporate videographers. I think they just have any amount of uses. And even if you wanted to use them for photography as well, for photos like food photography and jewelry photography, where you need really good control and you want to have light that doesn't bleed out everywhere, and that's very good for food photography, I think these would be fantastic for that. Highly recommended. They come at a great price. I think if you invested in the 3-light kit with the stands and all the accessories, you really wouldn't know yourself. So thanks as always for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you got something out of it. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions. Do consider subscribing to the channel, because I might have something of interest to you in terms of reviews or other creative content. Until the next video, guys, the next one might be another video about these in terms of using them in a creative way, because I did promise Godox that I would do more than one video if they sent me more than one light. So I'm going to do something really kind of cool with these in an upcoming video. So I've loads more I want to add to the channel. channel soon. And that is all from me for now. Until the next time, folks, I will see you. Take care.